am going to be discussing Harlem, which is a Prime original series. They have just wrapped up their final season, Season 3. And I'm going to just get into my thoughts and breakdown, do some character breakdown on this show. So today our agenda is going to look a little bit like follows. Y'all always, y'all know I gotta I'm trying to multitask here because I always want to try to see perfect. All right, so for our agenda today, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction to tell you guys what we're doing, which is I'm doing a breakdown on the characters and the story of Harlem Season 3. The intention for this series is that I am on a mission to be a master storyteller. And so a part of that mission is learning to recognize story and know how to break down that story. And so that is what I am going to be doing today. I'm going to be breaking down the Harlem story by character, just to not only, show love to this series, but to also get tips and tricks for myself as a story writer and a future author. I'm going to talk a little bit about Miss Tracy Oliver, who is the creator and writer of this beautiful series. I told you guys we'll do the Season 3 breakdown. Hi, Kay. How are you doing today? Welcome. I'm doing a breakdown all about Harlem Season 3. If you are interested in that, please stay here. If you want to see, I do have a nice little beautiful PowerPoint presentation where you can see all this information on my YouTube channel at Honestly Sis. So if you're curious to see the presentation, go ahead and go there. So like I said, getting into our agenda, I'm going to introduce you guys to what we're doing here, the intention for this series, give a shout out to Tracy Oliver. We're going to break down the character story of Season 3 of Harlem, and then I'll give you guys my final takeaways about the season. Who am I? My name is Honest Am. I used to have a podcast called Dear Showrunners where I talk all about life, love, and television. Me and my bestie, aka my roomie Joe, we used to talk all about watching, praising, and critiquing podcasts and television shows. And this is me just getting back to my roots. I also have a newsletter called Honestly Sis, where I inspire, uplift, and activate. I tell personal stories about my life, about my spiritual journey, and all of that good stuff. That newsletter also just got turned into a podcast. So if you're curious to know anything more about my storytelling skills, go ahead and make sure you check out www.honestlysis.com. Next up, let's talk about Miss Tracy. Tracy Oliver is the creator of First Wives Club. She also created Girls Trip, and she also had The Blackening, which is a movie that's all about a group of friends going up to the cabin for the 4th of July. Sorry, I'm getting some echoes here. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me a little bit better? Next up, let's talk about the themes of Season 3. And so if you watch Harlem Season 3, this show really focused all about fertility. And we talked about fertility in multiple ways. I mean, actually, that this was a big highlight and a big theme throughout the whole course of the series. We started getting in there when Ty was having her issues with she was having bleeding, and we learned to find out that she had fibroids, and Dr. Lispin told her that she should check her eggs and, start thinking about freezing her eggs if children was something that she thought that she wanted to have in the future. We ended Season 2 with this big pregnancy scare, not knowing which one of our characters was going to get pregnant. And then, of course, we end up finding out that Camille was that character that got pregnant this season. And so we dealt with fertility in different ways. We dealt with people preparing for it, where we had Portia and we had Ty, freezing their eggs and going through that process. Trying to figure out if she even wanted to be a mom. And then last but not least, we had Quinn deciding that she wanted to be a mom, and she was willing to do that with or without a man in her life. Next, this big theme of autonomy. A lot of our characters, they may be thriving in one area of their life, but not really having that other area together. But what we found is that throughout the course of this whole season is that this was all about people finding their own version of freedom. And so we learned that Camille ended up walking away from her job at Columbia to make sure that she could actually, pursue this career as a writer. We had Quinn, she left her job at Wall Street to go over to start, not even to go over, but to start chasing this fashion dream. All throughout the course of the season, she had like some issues with her mom really helping her get her business off the ground. But we end this season with every single one of our characters in their own autonomy. They're in charge of their career. Ty has a popping, well, she already had a popping business, but now she has P, so she's expanding her business and growing it. We had Camille. She left Columbia. Now she's off doing this career of being an author and really spreading her wings. Throughout the whole course of the season, she was on, we started off with her on Quinn's couch, and then now she was able to be a star in the Girls Trip, the musical. And then of course, we talked about Quinn and how she was able to turn that stuff around and find her way as a stylist. Next, facing fears. Every character of this season had to deal with a fear, whether they had to deal with the fear of being a mom, where we had to deal with that with Camille, the fear of vulnerability, we had to deal with that with Ty, the fear of success, we had to deal with that with Angie, and then the fear of potentially being alone or not getting your quote unquote happily ever after. We dealt with that a lot with Quinn's storyline. And the same thing about facing success. Facing fears. We also had to deal with success. And what does that mean? One thing that I thought was so interesting throughout this series is that Tracy really highlighted how just because you are successful or, you are finally having your big moment, she really highlighted the drawbacks to them. So we got to see Quinn in boss, bitch, stylist, status. Okay, we got to see our Quinny Pooh finally make it and doing it well. But as soon as she started making it, doing it well, blowing up on social media, now she has to deal with the backlash of Seth, old stylist, and people hating on her, and people saying that she's not a girl's girl, and people saying that she stole their clients. And so she had to face her fear and decide what her story was going to be. She had to stand up for herself. Angie, she finally gets her big moment. She's finally going to be an actual star in this Broadway musical. She has a reviewer coming out, and now she has to deal with the fact that can she actually live up to the hype? Is she actually going to become the person that she thought that she always was going to be? One thing that I thought was very interesting, make sure that you're checking out the bonus episodes. There's about 3 of them. Tracy and Jerry sat down and talked about the entire series. So if you just still feel uneasy about the ending of Harlem, I really implore you to go back and check out those extra bonus episodes, because it will really make you feel better about the course of the series and how everything went. Okay, what was I saying about that? One thing that she mentioned about the purpose of success, or her exploring that storyline of success, is because Tracy mentioned that sometimes, success can be just as scary as failure. And a lot of our characters had to deal with that as well. Then, last but not least, our final theme of this series is happy endings. And I really loved it because this series of Harlem, we opened up and we talked about, the Moab women and about women, taking full autonomy of their life and them decentering men. And like, what does that actually mean? And throughout the course of these 3 seasons, we were able to see each one of our characters basically explore some way of that, of them decentering men from their lives and them becoming to have full autonomy. But I think we have to realize that when we are taking accountability for our life and when we are decentering men, we also have to deal with the consequences of what happened when you do that. So say, for example, Camille, she was quote unquote decentering the relationship, and she was just gonna fuck she's just gonna fuck in, and it was only about sex, but then she ended up getting pregnant by him. And so she had to face this thing where she had to decide, okay, am I going to be a mom? Am I going to get rid of this? Am I going to face my fears? And then we learned that one thing that I really love, and why I keep telling everybody to go check out those bonus episodes from Tracy, is that in the bonus episodes, Tracy really said that the reason why she made the series, she made the choices that she made, is because life is not as clean and as easy as a fairy tale. And I think we all recognize that. I know for a damn sure myself, I've been having my own questions, with God, my own conversations with God about, am I going to get a happy ending? Am I going to be able to be a mom and a wife? And, am I ever going to be able to break out of corporate America? And I think what Tracy is trying to tell us, and the whole mission of the series, is that your happy ending is on you to decide. You get to decide what is a happy ending for you. And so if your version of a happy ending is with you being with a fine ass MLB player who's not necessarily into monogamy, but he's going to take care of you, then fine. That's your version of your happy ending. If your happy ending is ending up with your ex after y'all had some, fine. The thing is, you get to decide. And what Tracy is trying to show us throughout this series is that you get to decide what your happy ending is. And I don't know about you, but I know I'm going to work for mine, and I'm going to not give up until I get that motherfucker, okay? All right, my favorite episodes of this season is Fallopian Blues. That was the second episode of this season where Camille was really trying to deal with the dilemma of whether she should be a mom, whether she should get an abortion, especially with the situation with her and Ian. Ian made it very clear that he was not going to leave Portia, that this was a serious relationship, but he also wanted Camille to have this baby. But Camille was having struggles about whether she wanted to have a baby or not because her mom is not the necessarily quote unquote good mom. And so I love this episode so much because Camille leaned on her friends. She leaned on making, pros and cons list. She did research. She was Googling, what do I do to become a mom? She did all of these things. But in the end, it really was the conversation that she had with Aunt Tammy, aka Bevy Smith, where they talked about how her and her sister both approached motherhood differently. Both her and her sisters, they never wanted to be moms because their mom was so bad. But come to find out, Auntie Tammy, she regrets maybe getting an abortion with that guy, whereas her sister, had a baby, and now they have Ian, and now she's, giving Ian the brownstone, and now they can potentially have a grandbaby. I just love this so much because it shows you that you don't have to necessarily repeat the patterns that your parents did. Just because you had a shitty childhood, just because your parents wasn't the best, it doesn't mean that you are automatically going to be a bad mom. And I think I didn't realize that I was also having that fear until I actually looked at the episode, and I had to, ask myself some tough questions like, damn, like, you know, shit, like, is my mom, am I gonna be able to call my mom when things are going down? Like, is she gonna be there for me? So I just really love that episode. And in the end, we learned that Camille does not let her fear rule, and she ended up having a baby. Foot rubs. This was episode, I want to say this was episode 4 of the season. Yep, this was episode 4 of the season. And I like foot rubs because this was more of an episode where we got to highlight Seth and Quinn, and they were able to do this ebony magazine, get to do this magazine spread where they got to look so good and take these really beautiful pictures. Shout out to Quinn sleepwear throughout this whole. Actually, shout out to everybody's sleepwear because I'm like, who is the stylist on the sleepwear? Okay, like I too want to be a bad bitch and have some flowing nightgowns and all of that good stuff. But I love this foot rubs episode because Camille was just honest about the loneliness that it is to be a single pregnant woman. She guys will hit on her, but then as soon as they see the bump, it's like, oh, never mind. And so I just love the honesty of being single and pregnant. And I also love that, even though Seth was clearly, all about Quinn and wanting to dote on Quinn, he still bought her flower. He still bought Camille flowers because he knew that she would be there and he didn't want her to be left out. And I don't know, it's just something about Seth, like, why did he have to be non-monogamous? Like, damn it, Kofi. I just hate that is his life for real. Next up was Fear Factor. I love this episode because this was an actual baby shower episode. Like, we started this episode where Camille, she is so focused on the book. She don't, Queen is asking her, what are you going to wear? I got this outfit. Do you want to do bump exposed, bump not? And in the end, Camille, she comes to the baby shower and she realizes that she needed the baby shower. She felt all of this, pressure come off of her because she got to be in a room with people who knew her from literally every area of her life. She got to be with her mom, and her, Dr. Pruitt came back, and she got to see that even though she is experiencing this pregnancy on her own, and even though it's only happening in her body, she got to see that she does not have to face it alone. And I just thought that that was so beautiful. It of course made me think about my own, potential baby shower one of these days, and just wondering, like, damn, like, is people gonna be there? Like, are people gonna show up for me? Who's gonna be there? Yeah, it's just really beautiful. And then, of course, I love the very last season. I mean, the very last episode of Dear Harlem. The reason why I love this episode so much is because we got to actually see the Girl Trip the musical. We got to actually see Angie do her thing, see her shine. And then, of course, we also end up getting we get to see our happy endings. We got to see Ty propose. We got to see Quinn, stand up for herself and decide, no, this is not as good as it's going to get. And then, of course, we see that Angie ends up choosing herself in the end. So I love this season so fucking much. And I could talk about it forever. What about you guys? I'm starting to see some people coming into the room. What was your favorite episodes this season? Comment down below. Like, I would definitely drop it off. Did you watch Harlem season 3? Comment down below. Let me know, what was your favorite episodes of this season? If you want to put it in the chat, I'll give you about another minute or so. What was your favorite episode of this season of Harlem? All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. You can put it in the chat. I'll go ahead and come back. Oh wait, is this enabling it? What words would that mean? Okay. Yeah, I'll if you want to drop it in the chat, drop it in the chat. I'll give you a shout out. Tell me your favorite episode of season 3 of Harlem. You only have 6 to choose from, so it shouldn't be too hard. All right, let's go ahead and get into our story break. We're going to get into our story break by character. First up, I'm going to talk about my boo Angie. Social media reaction. So this really why I was like, I got to come on here and talk my shit about this. Now, I should have said this in the beginning. The reason why Harlem was only 6 episodes is I want everybody to remember that there was a whole ass writer strike before any of this went down. And so that was number one. The beauty that Harlem actually survived the writer strike, is a miracle all unto itself, right? 2, not only did they get to survive the writer strike, Amazon actually let Tracy end this series on her own terms. They told her this is your final season so that she could write and prepare as though the season was ending. Do you know how many Black shows never get to get the final season, never get to wrap up their story? Shit, look at Rap Shit. Look at Girlfriends. People still are like, discombobulated about, not being able to get those final episodes, not being able to end the series properly. And so I was just finding myself very frustrated when I constantly seen comments on social media talking about, well, why was this season so short? And why was it so rushed? And what the fuck did you want them to do? Like, she clearly only had 6 episodes. I'm sure if Tracy was able to have 8 episodes, I'm sure if Tracy was able to keep the season going, she would have kept it going. But she didn't. And so I was really, really frustrated that everybody seemingly forgot that we went through a writer strike. They forgot that shows was getting canceled left and right. They forgot that, it was actually a blessing that we even got a season finale for Harlem. And so I really wasn't appreciative of how everybody was talking about how fast and how rushed the season was. It's like, y'all, I'm going to need y'all to use your brain and use critical thinking skills. She had to compact the story. Like, it just had to happen. So that's number 1. Number 2, I don't appreciate the way that people were talking about Angie's storyline, because first of all, Angie's storyline was actually the best storyline for me. She was the only storyline that truly wasn't centered around finding a nigga, falling in love, or trying to get married. Like, her storyline was completely, from season 1 to season 3, it was all about Angie finding fame, Angie finding success, Angie being happy, Angie walking into her purpose. And so for me, it's really frustrating when people are like, oh my God, they just gave the fat Black girl and she ain't do nothing and there was no growth and she was barely on the page and like, y'all, the call is coming from inside the house. Like, if you looked at Angie's storyline and you felt like nothing happened, like, that's on you. Like, maybe you are an oversized Black girl and you want, and I get it. I get it. You want to see your story on a screen. You want to be able, you want your favorite character to shine and do all of those things. But guys, this is an ensemble cast. It's not possible for everybody to shine the same way. The main character of this series is Camille. It has always been Camille. That's why everything about season 3 was really more so wrapped around Camille, because Camille was our main protagonist. Her Angie, Quinn, Ty, they were just her friends. They were her support system. They were not the star. Yeah, they were co-stars, but they were not the star of the show. I bet you, I bet you a good $100 that if you were to get the call sheet, number one is Megan Good. And so I get it. I get that you want to see. As a matter of fact, if you want to see fat black people take the lead, why didn't you watch How to Die Alone? Okay, like why did you not go above and beyond to support How to Die Alone? Like clearly y'all wasn't watching that goddamn show because it got canceled. But anyways, I didn't appreciate how everybody was talking about Angie's storyline. I just felt like the call was coming from inside the house. Y'all were not seeing Angie growth. Angie went from being a quote unquote hoe, and I don't even think she was a hoe. I just think that she was a sexually liberated woman. She used men for what she wanted to use them for. She just was out for having fun, but her focus was her career. That was all that Angie wanted, was her career. And so from season 1, we got to see her be on Quinn couch. We got to see her finally get to at least start slowly moving. Because remember, the whole thing is Angie had got a record deal in college. The record deal ended up falling through. And now she's always trying to get back to where she was before, right? And so we got to see Angie go from being like, I'm not going to work at all. I'm too good. I'm an artist. It's all about, how I look. It's all about your image, to her actually breaking down and deciding to take this nanny job so that she could actually pay for her union dues to be in Good Out the musical. We got to see how her pride and how her not even her pride, how her attitude and how her attitude can get in the way of progress, and, her realness basically end up getting Get Out the musical shut down. We had to deal with her dealing with that fallout of Get Out the musical not working, and her being sad and her feeling like it's never going to work, to her finally getting a Hallmark movie, to her having to deal with the bullshit, on set with the Hallmark movie, her finally meeting Mike. So now we're starting to get out of this promiscuous ways. And then she get Mike, she get the main show, she get this main role in the Broadway musical, The Girl Trip. She kills it in Girls Trip, the musical. And we ended with her not only being praised and seen as the star that she is, but we also end her with saying that she has this man who has money and who want to take care of her, and who's saying, hey, all you got to do is be my wife and be there for me. Sit your ass on the couch. I don't need you to be that ambitious. And she said, actually, no, thank you. Me going after my career, me doing this is me being myself, and it is me fulfilling my purpose. And so Angie ended on her own terms. And how is that not a character growth? How is that not an arc? How is that not an arc? Because the thing is, and I think when Tracy mentioned this in her bonus episodes, she said that, Mike represented that side of Angie that was afraid of success and that necessarily didn't want to grow. She could have easily took Mike Black card and be like, you know what, baby, you right. I'm going to lean on this. He's going to take care of me. I don't have to be that ambitious. I can wait until the next movie role come around. I could just go rest on my success of this because I'm just so good. She didn't do that. She decided, no, I'm going to choose myself first. I don't need to be around a man who's going to minimize me, and I'm going to go after my dreams. If you don't see the growth in that character, baby, the call is coming from inside the house. That's all I'm going to say. You don't see the growth. And maybe you just need to do some self-reflection on yourself. If you find yourself very bothered by Angie's storyline or lack of storyline, then I think that's an internal problem, and you need to do some deep soul searching and figure out why you feel that way or why it bothers. So I talked all about this. Angie got the Girls Trip, the musical. She got the Dina role, aka the Tiffany Haddish role. She kills it. We see she still got her Lion King boo around. But Mike key trying to play her. Someone's like, are you really talking about drugs in your booty? And just she like, yeah, nigga, did you not see the movie? Right away, we see that Mike, although he's so loving and he's so accomplished and he has all of these quote unquote things that we should all want in a man, there's just subtle ways that Mike is trying to play her and minimize who she is as a person. And so we see throughout the planning of the wedding, and the reason why Tracy did this is because she spoke about how, we love to talk about whirlwind romances and how it's like, oh, I met this guy last month and then we got engaged 3 months later and now we're together. But when you do have those type of whirlwind romances, you're not really getting to know that person. And she said that, if you don't have a solid foundation, a wedding could kill a good relationship. And we got to see that over this course. Mike didn't want to have a big wedding. And we learned that Mike didn't want to have a good wedding because he's not cool with his family. So not only does Mike have women issues, he also have issues with his family. Then we learned that Mike had a problem with Angie being ambitious. This nigga literally said, I didn't know you was that ambitious. Who says that? I wish a nigga would. I wish a nigga would fix his face to say, I didn't know you was that ambitious. Who does that? Who says that? Okay. And so we got to see over this course of, them trying to find venues and them trying to do everything. That thing was just not like they were starting to slowly fall apart. And so Angie, she gets a good review, and Mike, once again, lackluster as hell, not really enjoying what she's saying, not really, getting her vibe, like just being an asshole, really. He wasn't impressed. He just was not impressed. He was just like, oh, okay, I got to go close this thing. And so Angie just brushed it off and was like, well, let's just go celebrate later. We'll go celebrate my good news and we'll celebrate, your we'll celebrate my good news, and then we'll also celebrate, you closing your thing at the art walk. And so they go to this art walk, and we're able to see that they go to the art walk, and we get to, see them back in their element. Mike tells her he wants to see this particular artist. The artist is kind of ignoring him because he's talking to a woman. And then Mike steals the painting, and it was just a cute little thing. Tell me you ain't down for a good scam. And it took us back to how they were when they first met. And so we got to see, like, at the art walk, like, well, maybe they will be okay. Maybe they will be able to overcome this. Maybe it's just, life getting in the way of these two. But that did not end up happening. At the end of the day, Angie ends up killing the Girls Trip the musical. Malcolm Lee comes to meet her at the end, and Mike is trying to posture and say, oh, yeah, thank you for taking care of my baby girl. Like, just being an asshole. And thank God that Malcolm Lee is kind of just looking at him like, what is this dude problem? And Malcolm pretty much offers her this role that he said Quinta couldn't do it, and that they have everything already shot. He kind of needs to answer right away. The movie is end up being shot during the same time of their wedding and their anniversary. And so Mike just straight out says, well, if you're going to do the movie, then we're not going to get married. Like, just gave her a flat out ultimatum and just left her, like, on her big day. And also, did y'all also get the vibe that he didn't actually see the play? Like, I feel like he didn't see it because she asked him, like, what was your favorite part? And he kind of just looked at her. So it's like, nigga, did you not come? Did you not show up to her fucking open premiere? Like, and I love so much. What I really love about this Mike and Angie storyline is that a lot of people think that red flags with men is just when they hit you or just when they talk to you disrespectfully, right? But nobody talks about that type of man that is just like, oh, you're doing that? I wouldn't do that, but okay. Nobody talks about that little man that just slowly but surely nitpicks at you. Oh, I didn't know you were that ambitious. Oh, your little play. Oh, do you really need to be doing that? Like, he did all of these things out of quote unquote concern, but really he was trying to change her. We always knew Angie was this big, loud, beautiful, vibrant personality. And slowly but surely, Mike was trying to change her. And I love that in the midst of, penthouse apartments, basically Angie got everything that she had when she lost her original, record deal. And so in the midst of all of this, Angie could have easily just been like, you know what, this is a good man, Savannah. He gonna take care of me, and that's gonna be enough. She didn't do that. She decided to walk away from him, get her Idris movie, and decide her own happily ever after. And so that was Angie's storyline from season 1 all the way to season 3. I love her, and I actually think that she was a good addition to the show because we don't get to see flat black girls be in their autonomy. We don't get to see them being, just so confident and so about their business. And I just love it. Like I was so like I was actually personally pissed off. Like I was like talking to people like I was Tracy. Like I was on a writing staff and I'm clearly not on anybody writing staff yet. All right. Let's move on to Ty's storyline. How you guys doing in here? Y'all still keeping up with me? How we doing? How we doing? What's going on, TikTok? Who is this A person? Hi, A. Who are you? Welcome to my live. I'm trying to see who y'all are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get into Ty. All right, so Ty. We start Ty. Okay, Ty from season 1. Ty was not trying to be in a relationship. We saw her. They were talking about how she always are dealing with like these girls that are not really on her level. She tried to deal with a girl who was on her level and she ended up being, trying to treat her like her. While she had the whole she be toxic thing, which made her only want to fuck with another fuck girl. And then that fuck girl ended up being the girl that she actually like mama. So this is what we're dealing with Ty. We're dealing with Ty, a person who is established in their career, who has their shit together, but is not established in their love life. And so we find Ty after the whole mama daughter conundrum last season, where she is actually deciding to be celibate. She's taking a break from having sex and she's going to focus all on work. And that is something that Tracy talked about in those bonus episodes, that Ty really uses work as her cushion and as her distraction to get her away from her love life. And I think a lot of Black women, actually a lot of people, period, knows about that, like what it means to really put so much into your work because you're not trying to focus on your love life. And so we open up with Ty trying to secure some funding for P, and she's pitching this app. So I'm assuming to different investment firms, and that's where we get to meet Eva. We get to meet Eva, aka Gil Bean. Everybody was talking about the pipeline, the pipeline from P Valley to Harlem, the Harlem P line, P Valley Harlem pipeline. And so we get to meet Eva, who is this young investor who clearly has her shit together. She's leading a point for Ty's investment deal. She was telling her firm how they need to invest in more, LBG products, and Ty was like the perfect candidate. We could see that Eva was like trying to shoot her shot and saying little things, which at first Ty was like seemed very uncomfortable about it. But then we learned that she's uncomfortable about it because she's trying to change. She's trying to do things differently. And she actually comes up front, like Eva ends up inviting her to drinks and she disguises it as a team dinner, like to get some more time with the team. But really what ends up happening is that Eva was trying to hit on her and she was honest and she said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have hit on you like that. That was completely unprofessional, but you were just so overwhelming in all the best ways. And Ty was honest and was like, you know what? Me 10 years ago would have your ass spread eagle on that couch, but I'm trying to do things differently. And she just said, like, I'm a walking red flag. And if you mess with me, things could get messy. And Eva was just saying, well, don't let it get messy. And so one thing that Tracy and Jerry both were talking about is that when you have an insecure attachment style, you need to be with somebody who has a very secure attachment style, someone who's not afraid to be able to deal with those kind of, those shortcomings, those issues that may arise. And I just thought that was so interesting because one thing that Jerry had mentioned, who is Ty, who plays Ty in the show, is that Ty said point blank, period, Jerry could have I said Evil could have easily been like, you know what, you're messy. I don't like to deal with messiness. Let's, this is not going to work. But she didn't do that. She actually ended up sticking with her and just kind of dealing with, the ebbs and flows of Ty until it got to be a little bit too much. And so I put Oprah favorite things because I just thought this was a good tip that I'm actually going to use. And so Ty says the way that she always knows, excuse me. Ty said the way that she always knows like what to buy is to like what sheets to buy is to look on Oprah favorite things list. It is where comfort and affordability meets each other. And so while she is, well, okay, let me back up. So on the course of her meeting Eva, and she's still working on this deck for P. So clearly she's still looking for more funding for P. During one of their little sessions, they were working on a presentation, and Ty wanted to get Eva's feedback on it. And Eva said point blank, like, "This is a little basic. You're leaning too much on Q." And Ty was just very taken back by it. And she ended up telling her, like, "That's all. You can leave." And basically, Ty ends up, pushing Eva away, but she ends up going back to her and being like, "Look, I'm in love with you. I want you to think the best of me." And we see that this relationship is ever evolving. And so they go to shop for some sheets. Ty gives Eva some tips about how to find some good sheets. And Eva is excited about these sheets because she's like, well, maybe this will get my mom to stay with me. And so we learn that Eva's mom is coming in town. She's a clinical psychiatrist and she really wants to meet Ty. And it seems like they have a very close relationship. But because we know that Ty is scared of certain things, Ty is scared to have those tough conversations. Ty say right away, oh, wait, I'm actually on the planning committee. Today is Camille's baby shower, but which is also like, why didn't she come to the baby shower? But that's just, that was interesting to me. Like, why? Maybe because they just didn't have time, but it was like, why did we not get any scenes outside of Ian? But we didn't get any scenes with like their significant others in the group. Well, Camille did eventually go with Seth, but why didn't the girls actually get to meet Top Straight Eva? Like, that's interesting to me. But anyway, so we learned that Eva mama is in town. She wants to meet Ty for dinner. Eva is not like, she clearly doesn't think this is a big deal. Ty does think it's a big deal. And I think she would have been down for it if Eva wouldn't have said, my mama hate all my girlfriends because I, ignore red flags, blah, 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 blah. And so we get to we get to we actually get to the baby shower. Camille has the baby shower. Ty actually gets there at some time, and she gets to the restaurant and she's about to walk through the door, but then she see even her mom and she just runs away. And this is because Ty is still, she's still a little scared of having these tough conversations. And so she just lies to Eva and say, "Oh, the baby shower ran over, but the baby shower ran over, but Eva is not having that. She's ignoring Ty phone calls, and we come to find out that Eva actually saw Ty run away. And so she's like, "You coming in here? How you're lying to me so easily is just a red flag." And so Ty actually had to face her worst fears. Now, this is where we're seeing growth in the character of Ty. Ty could have easily just been like, "You know what? I fucked up. She don't want to mess with me no more. I'm done with it." But instead of just leaving Eva, instead of just letting her be, Ty actually goes, track down her mom, begs her mom to have a conversation, wins her mom over to where Ty in the end ends up proposing to Eva. And Eva says that she would definitely marry her under one condition, and that is that she has to go see her parents in Atlanta. And we learned throughout the course of this season that Ty has not seen her parents in over 10 fucking years. And so we know, like, Ty, she was looking at flights, and I kept thinking that we were going to go to Atlanta, or maybe they're saving that for the movie. But in the end, she didn't go to Atlanta, but she did promise Eva that she will do it, and Eva promised to go down there with her. So we got a beautiful wrap up on that storyline. Next up, my baby Quinn. This is who I am. This is who I am. It's like, kind of, yes, kind of. All right, Quinn storyline. And as you see, this year, this week I did it a little differently. We were going to have Camille as the end, since this is Camille's, basically it's her show. She is the main protagonist. So, all right, Quinn storyline. So we meet Quinn. Quinn is seem to be doing good in her shop. She has a new client. It seemed like her and this client, she's a young, pretty fly girl. They get along very well. And she invites Quinn over to this leftover party. The girl said that she has a daddy. And Quinn asks, like, is this your actual father or like your daddy? And it ended up being her daddy. And she invites Quinn to this leftover party where she met this beautiful, fine, Kofi. Now we get to meet Seth Rankins, who is an MLB player at this leftovers party. He's right away feeling Quinn. Quinn is right away feeling him. She tells him that she is only down for something that is going to be easy, low maintenance, and he says that's exactly what he needs. She said she didn't want anything seriously. And so they end up having this one night, quote unquote, it's supposed to be a one night stand. And we see Quinn goes over there. She have a good night. In the morning, she's getting up. She's packing her shit. She is on her way. And so one thing right away, we see that Quinn is not just saying, I want something easy. I want something low commitment. She's actually moving that way because old Quinn would have still been in that bed, would have been trying to, have breakfast and all that other stuff. But Quinn was up and out, ready to go about her business. And in the midst of that, Seth is learning that he lost one of his bags. He's really frustrated because he has to go to the SBs. And so Quinn was like, you know what? How about you go down here? She gives him some tips about styling. She gives him some tips about places that he can go in New York, and she helps him out with the styling of this event. And because she helps him out, he actually gives her a shout out on the red carpet, and this introduces our boss, bitch, stylist, status. So then Quinn is helping Seth out while he's in New York, helping him get his styling together. Because he's always in front of the cameras, he's definitely giving shout outs to Quinn. Quinn, her social media, her DMs are blowing up. The ladies go to lunch and like all day her phone is like bling 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 because people are trying to become her next styling client. And this ends up going into an issue with one of Seth's old clients. And she basically accuses Quinn of stealing her client. And then, the internet kind of turns on her and say that she's acting light skinned. She's like, why are they saying I'm acting light skinned? I am light skinned. I love that one. But basically, Quinn had to either wait for Seth to soothe it over or face it on her own. And she decided to get all dressed up and get in the camera and talk to the girl directly and was like, look, I didn't know that was your client. I didn't mean any disrespect. And she ended up saying that she was ending her styling relationship with Seth. And then he came in and was like, damn, like I can't tell you to like stay. And she like, no. And he was like, well, since you won't style me no more, does that also mean that we cannot have a personal relationship? And she's like, no, that's not what that means. And so her and Seth, they end up, they keep seeing each other. They're having a good time. In the midst of all of that, we also have Quinn planning Camille's baby shower against Camille's wishes. Camille does not want to do this baby shower, but the baby shower actually ended up being so beautiful. It was floral themed. There was literally just flowers just everywhere. The room was like erupting in flowers. She also got these little head pieces made for Camille and her mom, course, all based off of Beyonce. And, she got the track. Quinn is the type of friend I want. I need me a queen in my life. She kept pushing Camille to have this baby shower, and she didn't just kept pushing for it. Like, she just made sure that Camille didn't have to lift a finger at all. Ian ended up providing the food, but he forgot about the cake, and so he had to actually reach out to Portia to do the cake. And actually, that was a whole little funny thing because we got to see Quinn mom, and she came in and was like, Quinn, if you can't afford food, you should have just said it. So, we got to have like a nice little comic relief moment from them. And we also got to have a nice moment with her mom and Aunt Tammy looking at Camille and Ian talking about, I can't believe they so messy. And she was talking about, shout out to Beverly Smith when she was like, and that, she was saying, she's like, and that Burberry, that Burberry shirt is so plain. First of all, that was the blackest part of the whole show because, like, new daddies, first of all, new daddies gonna always have on like this polo, like they gonna have on that Burberry. They either gonna have that Burberry shirt on, or if they from Detroit, they gonna have some Cardis on. Like, that is what the new daddies do. But the baby shower was just so beautiful. I love the scene where Camille was like, if you knew Camille from New Jersey, if you knew Camille from Columbia, if you knew Camille from NYU, if you knew Camille from Columbia, from Harlem, and we were able to see that Camille had somebody there from every stage of her life, and it was just a really, really beautiful thing. In the midst of all of that, while Quinn is having a good time with Seth, and her and Seth actually end up having, oh wait, going back to that styling boss bitch, she actually Seth was supposed to do a black love shoot, and he asks her like, "What would you do if you had a black love shoot?" And so Quinn, being Quinn, she says, "Oh, to be clam," and I think it's more than just family. And she basically ends up doing this ebony spread with Seth, and it was beautiful. And she told Camille that she could just see herself. She saw her family with him so clearly, and the two of them are kind of talking like this may be the one. And so Seth has said he loves her, and she said that she loved him. And then one night they're in bed, and he gets up and leave, and Sabrina calls, and he says he loves Sabrina as well. And so Quinn makes up and said, "Who the fuck is Sabrina?" Which we all was saying, "Who the fuck is Sabrina?" And come to find out that Seth is ethically non-monogamous. Now, I'll push back a little bit here. He said that he wasn't trying to hide anything, and if he wasn't trying to hide anything, why didn't he just say that up front? Why didn't he tell Quinn that, hey, I'm ethically non-monogamous? I don't ever plan on being in a relationship. Like, and maybe that's because they were going with the flow, and this was like a one night stand that turned into a 5 night stand, like that turned into 5 months or whatever. But I want to push back on that ethically, because I just feel like if you are truly ethically non-monogamous, like, you should have brought it up. Like, it should have, at some point in a conversation, at some point in a relationship, you should have told her that this is how you operate and this is how you identify. It shouldn't have taken for her to hear you on the call with another girl for you to say it. Like, yeah, great that he didn't say, he didn't lie, but it's also like, why do I have to overhear your conversation for you to tell me that this is what it is? But anyway, Seth says that, he would give Quinn everything she wants. Like, he'll give her the baby, he'll give her the house. He said he'll put that motherfucker. I mean, I would have folded. I would have folded like a goddamn lawn chair. When Quinn was like, I just came to see this view, and he's like, I'll buy this motherfucker. I said, assume that position. I'm sorry. I would have just been like, I'm sorry. I would have been like, what is that? I'm trying to be a rich nigga focused. I'm just saying, God knows. Maybe that's why God ain't bringing me no rich nigga yet, because Lord knows all my goddamn morals would be out the window. But Quinn was just, so Quinn decided, you know what? I'm going to go meet Sabrina. And so she goes and she meets Seth and Sabrina, and they have the conversation. And this is my only pushback now. I just felt like I would have appreciated if Sabrina was like, maybe not like a queen, but if like Sabrina was like, I don't know, maybe if she had like some Camille energy. I just felt like they made Sabrina be like a hood. Come to me, Sabrina kind of came across like a hood rat and a groupie, and like, and I just wish that it was somebody who was a little bit more on Quinn level, because then I think that it would have been even more of a struggle for Quinn to decide, okay, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? But basically, like, Sabrina was like, oh yeah, Seth has been showing me y'all pictures, and we were out last weekend, and Camille is just, Queen is just like throwing back like, last weekend, goddamn, I thought we was together. And everything is going fine. And so Sabrina was like, okay, and we don't like to use condoms, because did he tell you that, like, condoms are make them itch or something? Like, some little random lie, and was like, well, we just need you to get tested. And then if you mess with any outside people, let us know. And Quinn was like, nope, I can't do it. And she's like, you can't get tested? She's like, I can't do this. Like, I just can't do this. And so we end up seeing that Quinn, she says that she's not going to do it with Seth. But we know that she was really battling with it, because she talked to Camille about it, and about, how, fairy tale endings, how sometimes princesses have to share their prince. And she just said, she was just very honest with Camille and was like, is this as good as it's going to get? And as somebody who is 35, about to turn 36, I have been having that conversation a lot. And it's like literally, I just was writing in my journal, like, God, did you forget about me? I mean, as a kid, you think about these ages of like 30 and 35, and I just knew that I was going to be married by now. I knew that I would have two kids. Like my mom had two kids by now. I thought I would have two kids by now. I thought I would have a house. There's so many things that I thought that I would have, and now that I'm 36 and I don't have any of those things, I've been saying, like, damn, like, is this as good as it's going to get? Am I going to have to become one of those women that may have to do a single mom workshop? Or am I not going to ever be a mom? Like, and do I really need to deal with that reality of, finding a house? Like, I remember I didn't even want to think about buying a house because I always wanted that to be something that me and my husband did together. But now I'm 35 and I'm tired of moving. I'm tired of paying rent. And I'm just like, well, maybe I need to just go do this. And so I could just really relate to Quinn and her storyline of where her career is doing great, which I ain't got that part. Where her career is doing great, but now her love life is, back to square one. And she decided that, even though things are not working out with Seth, I'm going to say no here, but that's not mean I'm giving up on a kid. Even and there was a cute little Easter egg there because during the seminar she was like, I didn't even know about known donors. And so, at the end of the seminar for these single moms, because she ended up meeting Brittany, and Brittany is pregnant and she got pregnant by a sperm donor. When they mentioned that you can have a known sperm donor, I was wondering, like, I wonder if Seth's going to come back. Like, if they get to do a movie or if they get to continue to tell this story, is Quinn going to let Seth be her known donor and then her and Isabella have this baby together? Or will she go back to like her ex from college? Like, I just thought that that was a really cute way to kind of put a breadcrumb in there to just be like, we may not be totally done with Seth yet. But we see Isabella at the end. And this is another thing. You know what? Maybe I can't be on no writers in no writers room because I would be on social media like, and I will be typing back at y'all motherfuckers. But another thing that I didn't like is that everybody was just like, and then they gonna have her end up with this random girl who hurt her. First of all, Isabella did not hurt Quinn. Quinn hurt Quinn. Quinn was being too thirsty, was being too clingy, was going from 0 to 100, and it ruined the relationship with Isabella. Isabella was just trying to live her life, and Quinn was being Quinn. And so I do like the fact that they are circling back around because we do see that now Quinn is in a different headspace. And so now she can maybe approach this relationship with Isabella differently. And if she can approach it differently, who knows? They may have a different outcome in the end. So I really, really loved Quinn's storyline. Quinn happy ending. It wasn't necessarily the ending that we wanted for her. And I think that's also something that Tracy and Jerry talked about in the bonus episodes about how Quinn keeps getting close, but she doesn't necessarily win in the end, but she does win in her own way. And I think that Tracy and the writers really gave us kind of a good opening for her. Like, Quinn's story is not over. And if they get this movie, I think that we'll be able to get to Quinn and to Angie's happy ending. Camille's storyline. So Camille's storyline, like I used to say in the past, is always broken up into two paths. It's her career path and it's her love life. But because we had such a short and condensed season, we didn't really get too much into Camille's story. I mean, into Camille's career, really. But we did get to see her leaving Columbia, just like Dr. Pruitt said at the end. She didn't know if she was ready to let Camille go. We see that Camille went, I forgot what she was going back in there for, but Dr. Pruitt asked her, like, are you sure you want to leave this job? And Camille said, yeah, like, I need a fresh start. She needs a fresh start. She actually ended up getting a book deal, I believe, based off of her Black Joy presentation. So she's working off of this advance. When we learn that she ends up getting pregnant, we learned that her pregnancy is bringing about new expenses, and so she didn't necessarily plan for this life that she's about to lead. And it actually causes her to lean on Ian even more. And so I did put like a little asterisk because Ian did have a storyline. I mean, he's been having a storyline this entire season. He's actually like their fifth cast member. He's the fifth main character. But from season one, we met Ian as the ex, right? Ian was her ex. He had, they were supposed to move to Paris together. He forgot his passport. And Camille just realized, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm giving up on my career. I'm giving up on everything I love for this man who can't even remember to have his passport renewed in a proper time. And so she ends up not going to Paris with him, and he goes to Paris and he finds this girl Myra. And then he comes back to Harlem, and he doesn't he doesn't tell Camille that he's back in Harlem, but eventually they end up meeting, and feelings end up sparking off again, and him and Camille keep having his run-ins. But instead of just ending his marriage, he just kept going, and he would have kept going because Camille showed up and was like, "Hey, I love you and I want to be with you." And he's like, "What am I supposed to do with this information? Like, this is not a rom-com." And they probably would have, he probably just would have got married if Myra would have never said, "I saw y'all fucking kissing." And the crazy thing is, this was the second time she saw her kissing, and she had to just be honest with herself. And I love that because I think, so often, a lot of stories focus on the lies that people tell us, and we don't really focus on like the lies we tell ourselves. Like, I'm sure when Myra first started them kissing, she was probably just like, "Oh, they probably just had to get that out that system." And when she saw them kissing again, she was going to lie again, but she had to be honest with herself and be like, "Am I really about to be in a marriage where I just caught this nigga kissing twice, and one of them the day before my marriage?" And she had to just face that and be honest and be like, "You know what, I can't do this." And she sued him. And Ian, his whole storyline is about him wanting love, him wanting a family, but him also not being able to be honest about him wanting love and wanting a family, and him like just quickly running into situations. Like, he was still, him and Camille, they broke up, the whole season two. They end up breaking up because, Ian was honest about, "I want to be a father." Like, this is, I think that was the first time he was taking growth as a character, because he told Camille straight up, like, "I want family. Like, this is something I want, and this is not something I'm willing to compromise on." But he was also still willing to fuck with Camille, because that's what Camille wanted. And so Ian has like this nice guy syndrome where he's just constantly trying to do the right thing by people and not being mindful about the situation that he put himself in. And so we started this season off with Ian fucking with Camille, and then he just stops fucking with her. Like, he was supposed to come back and just never came back because he had a date. And so we can assume that date was with Portia. The date went really well. They start having sparks. And then now Ian, without even cleaning up, clearly ending things with Camille, he's starting something with Portia. And it's like he's constantly, because he wants that love, because he wants it so bad, it's that he's not like properly ending or even healing things. Like, why did he get in a relationship with Portia that quickly? And he should have known that, Portia is like another Camille. So it's like, why would you go from, being in this relationship, being in this relationship with this woman you love, to now being in love with your best friend? Like, that is not going to end well. And so Ian, like, we learned, like, he still didn't learn. He was still willing to have, his problem was a lack of communication. He didn't, and it wasn't because he was his was a lack of communication because he didn't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Like, he just wanted everybody to get along. He wanted to make sure everybody feel good. Ian did not want to be a bad guy, and in turn, he did fuckboy antics to avoid being a bad guy. And so we got to see him, trying to be there for Camille, also trying to be there with Portia, constantly struggling on juggling this relationship. And when it comes time to Portia asking him point blank, like, he's over at Camille house at 3 a.m, and she's like, "Why are you over there? Like, what was going on?" And she said, like, "Is it because you're still in love with her?" And he didn't want to admit it. Like, he couldn't even say, "No, I'm not." And so Portia, again, just like Myra, had to be the one to say, "Okay, I'm not going to put myself in this situation, so I'm done with the relationship." And so I think that that's something that we have to be mindful for like those ends in our life, the guys who are going to do the right thing just because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But it's like, but are you actually in love with me? Like, but are you actually do you actually want to do the things that you're doing, or is you just doing it out of a sense of obligation? And that's what Portia said. Like, nigga, don't white knight me. Like, I don't need that shit. Like, I deserve somebody who actually love me, not somebody who's just trying to be with me out of a sense of duty. And I think honestly, there is a lot of ends in the world, and I'm really grateful that Tracy and the story and the writers really delved into that. In the end, Camille does finish the book. She finished it pretty fast, and her editor says, like, I was really nervous when a writer finished something very fast, but she was not only fast, but she was good. And we got to see, it was so cute when the editor was like, this is a love story, and you could see Camille just thinking, like, is it a love story? Could things actually work out for me in the end? And it does. Now, getting into Camille's love life, we, started off this season learning that she was pregnant. We had 2 whole episodes about her deciding whether or not she wanted to keep the baby or if she would not keep the baby. We know in the end, thanks to Aunt Tammy, she does decide to keep the baby. But we also learned that Ian and Portia, as they are in a relationship and planning things, Portia is also trying to get pregnant. She's also freezing her eggs. What makes me think is Dr. Lisbon like, what the fuck is Ian doing? What is the conversations that Dr. Lisbon, what is she having in the back of her mind? Is she just like, this man is like trying to play 2 women, or I'm just curious of what she thinks. But we do see that Ian was trying to do the right thing with Portia, and it just didn't end up working out in the end. And Tammy ended up having a conversation with her about being a mom, knowing that you don't have to be a mom. That ultimately ended up sealing the deal about her going through with this pregnancy. And we just got to see, this was it was very fast. She found out that she was pregnant, episode 1, decided to keep the pregnancy in episode 2. By episode 4, she was 8 months pregnant. So it was like, we really didn't get to see a lot of her pregnancy blues for real, for real. We just got to, see how her and Ian was trying to, do the whole, I'm trying to think. Yeah, basically, like, Camille was just lonely. She really wanted to have somebody to, have her back and be her partner during her time of pregnancy. And Ian, because he was in a relationship, he just really couldn't do that for her. Hold on, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. 1 second. Oh yeah, one thing that I thought was very interesting. At first Camille is just trying to do everything on her own, and then finally Ty. It's just like, but where is Ian in this? Like, he is a part of this. He is your baby father. And so one thing that the writers actually highlight is that, it's expensive having a baby, especially if you don't have insurance. And so she actually, even though Camille is dead set on being a single mom and doing things on her own, she really does have to lean on Ian for that financial support. And he lets her know right away that, like, I'm not, I'm going to always have your back. I'm going to always take care of my own. And he pays. She actually ends up running into Portia at the doctor's office in episode 5. And she's just like, this bitch is everywhere. She's at the doctor's office. She's at my baby shower. And we just had to just see, like, what does it really look like when you are single and pregnant, She couldn't find companionship. Ian was in a relationship, so he couldn't be there for her, couldn't get great hookups. If it wasn't for Seth's friends, she wouldn't even have got like a foot rub. She didn't get flowers for her whole 8 months of pregnancy. And it was actually like around episode 5, and when we were getting towards the end, where I was just like, I don't like this storyline for Camille. It just felt like she was by herself and going through everything alone. But in the end, Ian calls her because, he's trying to get in contact with her. Camille's not really paying attention to her phone because she's actually, dealing with Cisco, who is Seth's friend. And Cisco comes back and offers to give her a foot rub, and he doesn't seem to mind that she's pregnant at all. And Ian is like, for the first time, having to see his pregnant ex-girlfriend with another man, and he doesn't like it. And he, right away, he started changing his tune, and he's like, you know what? I will be able to, I do need to make time for us to build our relationship and to help you out the baby more. And so we get to see them, go to the doctor office the last episode. and for them to just, them to start coming together, get ready for the baby. He, of course, came through for the baby shower. He was there. He got the food. He had Portia buy the cake, which is, again, what the fuck was you thinking? Portia, low key cussing him out, like, nigga, why you got me here? He was like, the cake don't have to be perfect. And she's like, yes, it does. Why these motherfuckers looking at me? Like, just putting her in like the most awkward and uncomfortable position. But Ian did step up as a daddy. He made sure he got the room painted. He helped build the crib. He got the van. He was so fucking hype about this van, and just really going above and beyond and making sure that he's there for Camille in her time of vulnerability and need. And they end up having a moment where I think he got to feel the baby kick for the first time. And, it's late and they're laying in the bed in the morning, I mean, in the middle of the night. And instead of Camille doing what felt good, she's like, instead of doing what felt good in the moment, I did the right thing. And she sent him home to Portia. And Portia, when he got in that bed, he texts Camille talking about how he had such a good time, while Portia is just like, damn, is this going to be my life? And so the next morning, Portia confronts him like, what the fuck was going on? Why were you there till 3:00 in the morning? And he just admits he's still in love with, well, he didn't even admit it. Portia admits it for him that he's still in love with Camille. And in the end, when after Angie's big, the girls trip the musical, they're dancing to Back That Ass Up and all these other dances. And Camille dances a little bit too hard and ends up having a baby Harlem. End up naming him baby Harlem. I wrote in my notes, Camille had a 3-month-old baby, because that is how old the baby looked. It was a full grown ass baby. But we got to see in the end, Ian asked them to move back to the brown home, to the stone. He asked them to move back into the brownstone so they could have just a little bit more space. Camille said, what you think? I'm about to be in there with Portia. And he just tells her, like, Portia left. We're not together anymore. And basically, he low-key proposes to her without a ring, and he says it was always supposed to be you, which made me think, Tracy, if you watch this, I wonder, was that a callback from Sex and the City? I do wonder, was that like a Mr. Big callback, like it was always supposed to be you? But that was our season. That was the last season of Harlem. So, final takeaways, Tracy thoughts. Again, make sure that you check out those bonus episodes. I didn't know about them until my friend on Threads, shout out to you, girl, who told me about them. And I got to watch. There's 3 episodes. She break down 2 episodes in each of them, 8 minutes long. So it's a really, really quick watch. But I do think it will give you just that conclusion that you want. So she talked about whirlwind romances and the pitfalls of them, which was actually, I thought, was genius, because people don't really talk about the pitfalls of whirlwind romances. We just talk about how amazing it can be, but we rarely talk about the pitfalls of them. She talked about being a workaholic, which was what Angie's storyline. Like, when you are a workaholic, or when you really do love working, your work becomes a part of your identity. And so when somebody tells you to stop working or stop being ambitious, it's actually like telling you to stop being yourself. That's something I've never thought about, but I guess that is where I'm trying to move. Because before, I used to always say, I don't want to be somebody that just work all the time. But I think because I want to do something that I genuinely love to do, I may end up being a workaholic. And it's just something to be mindful of when you're having a partner. Are y'all on the same page when it comes to like work and purpose and dedicating yourself to work? And what is work-life balance? And what does that look like? I just think those are some conversations that you should be having when you're talking to a partner. Like, how ambitious are you? Would you be mad if your partner was super ambitious? Or is that something that you actually look forward to? I also think, having those conversations about monogamy. Like, I feel like with Seth and Quinn, it's like, could y'all find a happy medium? But of course, for Quinn, not, because she's a hopeless romantic. But like, for me, like, I do believe in monogamy, and I just don't. And it was like kind of heartbreaking to me, like when Kofi came out and saying that, he is ethically non-monogamous. And I've just been noticing that it's always like these rich, fine ass niggas that's that way. And it's like, are you that way, or do you just want your cake and eat it too? Like, can you really love 2 people at one time, or you just want to have it all? Because I don't know how you can really genuinely have like the emotional capacity to love 2 people. But that could just be me. Like, for me, I do recognize that it's not realistic for you to think that you're never going to be sexually attracted to somebody else or you're never going to want to fuck somebody else. Like, I just don't think that that is realistic, but I do think within your own relationship, you can come up with your own terms. Like, for me, I know for a fact, because I am bisexual, like me and my husband, we're going to have threesomes. Like, that's just going to be what it is. It just is what it is, because that's what I want to do, and I'm sure that's probably what he's gonna want to do. Because, like, at the end of the day, me and my husband have a common interest in women, and so we're going to partake in it. And I think if you and your relationship can figure out what that is, or your own terms, I don't understand why monogamy can't still be in it. Or maybe I am not ethically non-monogamous. Who fucking knows? I don't know, but I do know that in my marriage, I plan on having fun. Yay! Girls Trip the Musical. Tracy, are you writing it? Are we getting a Girls Trip the Musical? Do I need to book my plane ticket to Broadway? Because I actually want to see it. Like, I actually found myself like getting emotional when I was watching that final scene. And if you actually pay attention to that final episode, that last shot of the girls sitting in the audience, in the back, there's actually Tracy there as well. And then we also got a cameo from Malcolm Lee. I really want to see this Girls Trip the Musical, the Get Out stuff. Click, stir, click. Maybe we didn't want to see that one, but I definitely want to see Girls Trip the Musical. So hopefully Tracy's working on making that a reality. If you need some writers, girl, I'm here. I will do it. Television versus reality. Really quickly, this was something that Tracy talked about with the storylines, and she said, "Why would I make my TV show more cleaner than life? Like, if Ian," and she brought this up in terms of Camille and Ian, as well as Angie and Mike. It would have been really easy for Camille and Ian to just get back together because she was pregnant. But because Portia was there, and that's how it really happened. Like, sometimes you be fucking with your ex and then, look up and all of a sudden they're in a serious relationship, but you still have to deal, like, and you're pregnant or something. And that is a reality. Like, plenty of people have had oops babies, side babies, all types of things. And so I do love that Tracy put that out there. And that's just a reminder for all of us writers and creators out there. Like, stop trying to make television shows or even your art more cleaner than reality. Like, really try to lean into the truth of the world or the messiness of the world. Because one thing that she said I really like is that the world operates in lots of shades of gray. And that's just a reality. Harlem the movie. So I don't know if you guys have been checking out the promo for this, but if you look at the Breakfast Club interview, they had an interview with Cheryl on the Shirley Show, the one who plays Angie Mom. I want to say they also had one on Tamara. And then I want to say Megan has been doing some rounds as well, but they all have been talking about wanting a movie. They didn't say they want anybody to pick up the TV show. They want a movie, and I honestly could see them doing like a three. They could have like another. They could make this like a Sex in the City franchise. Like, I could see them getting a good 3 movies out of this. So say movie 2 is all about Camille. Oh my god, I could see it right now. The second movie would be Terry, it would be Ty and Eva wedding. And then maybe Camille and Ian ends up getting engaged. And then the second movie could be Ian and Camille wedding. And then we deal with Quinn, and then maybe during the first movie. Okay, so this is my first movie. This is my dream first movie. I want them to have 3 movies. The first movie, I want it to be all about Ty going to Atlanta and, facing her family stuff and her having her wedding, Camille moving into the loft. Camille moving into the brownstone with Ian, Angie continuing to have success in her movies, and like now maybe she's kicking it with one of her co-stars. Quinn is going to get Seth to be her sperm donor while her and Isabella work on having a baby together. And then we'll end that movie with Jerry's wedding. With Ty wedding and Quinn baby. And then the second movie can be Ian's and Camille wedding with Angie getting engaged. or Quinn getting like something like that. And so it could be like every single one could be them girl. Oh, so maybe they could do four. Every single movie would be like one of the girls getting married off and entering a new life. But yeah, I think the first movie they have a lot of runway. It's all about Ty going back down to Atlanta. It's all about Angie finally being this movie star and her trying to find that balance of her new life. And Camille trying to figure out how to be new parents, and then Isabella and Quinn doing a fertility / child journey with Seth. Put me, Tracy, hire me. But that's what I want to see. What do you want to see for Harlem the movie? I want to say, like, Tracy, do we need to do petitions? Like, let us know what we need to do because we want to support you. All right, y'all. That is the end of this episode. We have made it to it. I did it. I literally did the stories and the character arcs for the entire series of Harlem. And so let's talk about what is going to be our next episode. I really think our next episode is going to be How to Die Alone. It's just going to be a one. See, that's only one season. I think I'm going to do that one. And I'll probably do that in about, I was going to say I'll do it in about 2 weeks. But you know what, y'all? I told y'all I'm a writer and I'm about to gear up on writing my last draft for my novel. For my manuscript. And so please, 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 if you love this, make sure you go on www.honestlysis.com, join our mailing list, and then I will make sure that I will post when I do the breakdown of How to Die Alone next. Or would y'all want me to do Insecure? Should I do the Insecure character breakdown? Would you like that? Should we do Insecure, How to Die Alone? And then I'm actually thinking about doing the White Lotus because they're at 3 seasons as well. I do feel like we need to get a murder mystery in there because I am a mystery and thriller writer. So let me know, please, 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 if you love this and you want me to keep doing these. If you love this and you want me to keep doing these, please go ahead and comment in our comment right down and below. Excuse me. Go ahead and leave a comment on what TV show you would like for me to break down next. And if not, if you don't want to type it down because you don't want nobody to see your stuff, send me an email at info@ambercsilman.com. You can find that information on www.honestly. Thank you guys so much. I want to thank you for being here with me and for helping me break down this series. This was my first time doing it. I really love doing these things. I've learned so much about it. Tracy, thank you for creating this series. Thank you for, helping me have some of these tough conversations about my life and about what I see for my own reality. It was really truly a great season, and I just hope that I genuinely hope that you are happy with your ending and that you're okay with how everything ended in the end. But yeah, that is it. That is our last final recap. Hold on, I'm trying to just go. Let me see. Because I want to play this slide. Okay, let me see. All right. Well, I don't think I could do it. I was going to say, if you guys want to learn more about me, again, I'm Honest Am, the creator of the Dear Showrunners, Honestly Sis, and Honestly Sis, the podcast. Want to learn more about me? Check me out at www.honestlysis.com. Until we meet again, dream those dreams. Never let the internet rush you, and never, ever let someone tell you what you cannot do. Peace. I will see you soon. Please, if you love this, comment down below. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Click your notification bell because I will be going live starting April 1st. I'm going to be going live at least once or bi-weekly. I'm either going to be going live weekly or bi-weekly, but it's going to happen. So make sure that you are subscribed to get all those notifications. All right, y'all. I love you so much. Thank you for helping my dreams come true. Now get out there and work on your own. Bye-bye now.